Nothing makes sense anymore. How do we understand what's happening all around us? I saw a post from somebody on Facebook saying that it feels like standing in an earthquake, trying to figure out what's happening. Thousands of people out protesting for Black Lives Matter all over France. How? Why? COVID? What? Look at this tweet. I said, well, either we have defeated COVID or everyone is going to die. So whatever, I guess. At this point, I'm sorry. The establishment has lost all credibility. And with this loss of confidence, I fear we really are moving into some very serious destabilization territory. How can there, what did Lincoln say? A house divided cannot stand? Is that what it was? I could be getting it wrong. I don't know what's happening. I don't know anymore. They told us the coronavirus was this dangerous plague. And then overnight, they don't care anymore. Overnight, they're allowing riots. The stories are gone. COVID just disappeared. What was the entire news cycle? I don't know what to think. I remember early on, I was like, wow, it sounds like this is bad. We saw how the governments were reacting. They were panicking. Maybe it was panic. It's induced hysteria from social media. All these governments reacting this way. But it doesn't explain all the people who died. Then we saw stories. Elon Musk tweeted this. USA Today. Hospitals that claim COVID patients get more money. Many conservatives were saying they think the numbers were being inflated. That doesn't actually make sense. It still doesn't, because there was an excess number of deaths based on the average number of deaths we would see. So in New York, for instance, you would see X many deaths per day on average, and it was well above. A lot of people speculated maybe it was being sedentary, being locked in the home. It was people not going in for treatments. There's a lot of reasons to say it. But I'll tell you what, right now, man, either we are going to see a mass explosion of lethal COVID cases in the coming weeks, in about a week from now. We should already be seeing it. Or what? It was all fake? It was never real? I guess they'll just say, we won. We defeated it. We got herd immunity just like that. Why are we still locked down? Like, why hasn't New York reopened everything? Why can't I go to Best Buy and buy a speaker to listen to music as I chill outside? Why not? Why is Atlas Gym being threatened by the governor? Why can't you go work out? But this, Europe was hit harder than we were. I don't even know what's happening. Here's Cuomo. He is warning that the protests could spark coronavirus comeback in New York. All right. We'll see what happens. This is from the New York Daily News. They say, the demonstrations that have rocked New York City and other cities in the wake of the death of George Floyd could potentially be infecting hundreds and hundreds of people after everything that we have done. We have to take a minute and ask ourselves, what are we doing here? Cuomo touted huge gains against the deadly virus, noting that overall hospitalizations, intubations, and new hospitalizations due to COVID-19 are down to their lowest levels since the pandemic struck in the state. The state conducted roughly 50,000 tests on Sunday with only 1,000 testing positive. The progress is phenomenal, but the riot's been going on for a week. How come when the conservatives came out demanding that the states reopen, there were all of these stories popping up saying COVID cases spike, COVID cases spike, worst day ever, they said. They said South Dakota was a hot spot and that they refused to lock down. It's a hot spot. And what happened? Nothing happened. They were lying about everything. Okay, not everything. We did see people get sick. But what is going on? Why did we lock down the way we did if South Dakota and Florida were fine, if Texas was fine? And now after all this rioting, it's now what, day 5? And what have we gotten? Nothing. Nothing but sirens and looting and rioting, death and destruction, chaos. And the establishment has lost all of its credibility. This is why I think we're in civil war territory. And I know a lot of people have repeatedly mocked me every time I've said it. They've told me that I was fear-mongering and to calm down and all that stuff. And everything I see just paints this picture. I mean, think about it. You have a media. You know what? A friend of mine messaged me. And they said something like, you've become slanted. And I messaged them back. And this is a friend of mine who's just wholly embraced leftist identitarianism. And I'm thinking to myself, like, it was only a couple of weeks ago that you made a post, very nicely and calmly, politely saying, if you are going to go out and protest, please social distance and wear a mask. You need to understand you're putting people's lives at risk. Oh, because business owners were desperate. That's what they said. You're putting people's lives at risk. You need to understand this. Please, please don't do this. Please. What are they saying now? Please, please, please get active and join your local meetup. Oh, all credibility gone. This is why I think we're headed towards civil war. If there's no establishment that people can agree upon, if there's no culture for which we can recognize, then what are we but two fractured factions in different places? Now, I think the fact that there's no dominated pocket so far is stopping things from truly escalating. Have you ever been to Northern Ireland? Do any of you know anything about it? I'm sure many of you have. I know very little about it. I just know about, some of the things my family members in the 90s were saying because I had relatives that were, either in some way associated with the conflict. It's nebulous, but basically people I knew who knew people there and family members who had distant family and stuff like that. But I went there a few years ago, and it was amazing to me to see, what do they call it? The Peace Wall, I think. On one side, you had a group of Irish people claiming to be Israelis or something, to be Jewish. On the other side, it was really just like they hated each other for no reason. Now, I know people with more experience and understanding might give real reasons, but what I understood from the people that were talking to me is that whatever one side adopted, the other side just opposed, and vice versa. And that's where we are. There will come a time when certain areas will have those lines drawn in the sand. I think so. The government has told us all of these things about COVID, and the rural areas completely disregarded them and disagreed. South Dakota, good example. In North Dakota, they got people using tracing apps, tracker apps. Eventually, people are going to know what territory is which. For now, they don't. We know New York is a certain kind of territory, and people are leaving. But what happens when you actually have hard factions? There's a group that literally calls themselves the Resistance. So what is it going to be like, MAGA versus the Resistance? I have no idea. I do know these people have gone nuts. They've been chasing and attacking Trump supporters for a long time. Where that leaves us, it leaves us in a crossroads, I suppose. But I feel like we're approaching there's the potential for escalation or de-escalation, and we're just driving towards escalation because the train can't stop. Let me try and keep it more on point, because the point I'm trying to make here: NYC businesses already hit by COVID now must reopen amid rubble. I have this story. Coronavirus sparks insane evacuation from NYC. Movers say as residents head south. Maybe it's not a civil war. Maybe it's just a collapse. But the reason I'm bringing up civil war in this context is that there's no legitimacy to anything they've said so far. They told us all of these things and they didn't come true. I don't know what to believe. It's possible I'm a little early. I'm jumping the gun. Maybe in a week from now, which is supposedly the average to maximum incubation time, we will see a wave of people just coughing and collapsing and gagging. And then what? All the Bernie Sanders supporting revolutionary leftists get sick and die? Or is it just going to be a tiny, tiny fraction? Because that's what the new data showed us. How can the American people trust in the government? There's a lot that can happen. And it's hard to see the bigger picture because we're all looking through this pinhole at a mosaic. We see only a tiny piece. Everyone's looking through a different pinhole, seeing something different. It's entirely possible that with the loss of confidence in the establishment media and Democratic government, they turn to Trump, who has been right. He's called for the crushing of the riots, and the American people support it. His approval rating may or may not be fake. I have no idea. It spiked when he was dealing with coronavirus. He was right about reopening, and he's seemingly, right about the ending the riots. Maybe what happens is that what's really happening is the confidence is being lost in the media and the Democratic establishment. And their last-ditch effort is extreme violence. And that's what they're doing. They're lashing out because they've completely lost and they know it. What if what's fueling a lot of this is it's a combination of factors, but it could be that they know Biden can't win, right? So maybe this is it. The last thing they can try and do is to burn it all down on their way out. Maybe Trump wins in November and they'll come back out and riot, or maybe they'll just be gone, crushed. I don't know, man. These past few days have been really annoying because every single story is the same. They're just little grains of little grains of sand making up a bigger heap of the same story about riots and violence and collapse and destruction, exaggerations. I'm seeing people get more extreme than they've ever gotten. Seeing people I once considered to be reasonable progressives now saying insane things. It's breaking my heart. You know where I'm going to stand on this one? Not with any of these factions. But let me end this with the culture war wager that I've mentioned before. If the right wins, I believe that most people will be completely fine. The terrorists, the revolutionaries, the criminals, of course, will get, justice served. If the left wins, we're talking about leftist identitarianism. There's a video going viral where they make a woman get on her knees to apologize to Black Lives Matter because she's white. That's what you can expect when the left wins. The right isn't white identitarian. It's conservative. So what happens then when they win? You go to church? Okay. When the left wins, they make you get on your knees and beg. Other ridiculous nonsense. I'm not interested in any of this, man. We'll see how things play out. I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out.